Good evening, my friends. Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Craig, buddy, how are you? Always a pleasure to have you along with us, my good friend. As I often say, you are one of the good guys. And you are much appreciated. So thanks for joining me this evening on Wednesday Night Live. Who else is along with us tonight? Renee, good evening. Cliff, always a pleasure. Michelle, Craig's better half. Tim, how you doing, buddy? Bernie, Otto, how are things in northern Michigan tonight? Hello, Mike. Nice to have you along with us as well. Linda, on the backside of the flu, so energy for just one hello tonight. Well, Linda, I'm glad you're starting to feel better. Man, there's just been terrible stuff going around, hasn't there? And then you combine that with the weather that we've been having. Holy cow! It's been an interesting month, January, but I'm glad you're starting to be on the mend. John, good evening. Hello, Dan. How are you? Hey, Chris. Jason, nice to have you along with us. Tommy, always a pleasure, buddy. Randy, how are you? Otto says he is sick of winter. You know what? I'm right there with you, Otto. I'm so sick of winter. I'm really sick of winter. But you know what? It's too early to start getting spring fever. Or we're going to drive ourselves crazy, but I'm with you. Brian, buddy, how are you? Uncle Johnny, my brother-in-law, my brother. How you doing, bud? Matt, good evening. Nice to have you along with us. I'm experimenting. You see this thing in right there? Where is it? Right there. Does that do you any good as a viewer? Here, I'll show you without it. Boom. And then what it does is it looks to me, and I just discovered this morning. It looks like it shows a string of comments. Is that something you like, or does it just get in the way? Tony, you and I have a date for next Wednesday, talking about crow hunting. I will be in touch. Chris, Mike, spring is getting closer. The days are getting longer. Jason, I like the way you think, man. Another day closer to turkey season. Chris, good evening. Jerry, good evening, Mike. Would you consider coming to Fort Custer Freedom Deer Hunt for disabled hunters, great staff, and volunteers? Feed us 3 meals a day, put in beta blinds. I appreciate the invitation. Probably going to pass on that, Jerry, but thank you so very much. As a very wise man told me quite recently, that when you are in a position that is a public position, you get a lot of different requests. And if you allow yourself to say, yes, I can do every one of them, you soon don't have a life anymore. You don't have a personal life anymore. So, Jerry, forgive me, but I have tried to get better lately at saying no to invitations, and I'm going to reluctantly and respectfully say no to this invitation. Have you heard the saying, when I walked out in the cold this morning, my shadow started shivering, went back inside, so I followed it? That's where I'm at. I hear you, Bernie. Linda says February will be great. The cold weather is freezing up the Great Lakes. That leads to lots of sunny days next month. Just wait and see. Linda, I don't doubt you at all. You're one of the smartest people I know. From your lips to God's ears. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh, you can't read it, Roger. Okay, so you guys can't see what's right there. Only I can see that. Can anybody else see that right there? Craig says he likes the comments. You can watch and see the comments on YouTube in one screen. Okay, so some of you can see it, some of you can't. Rick, how are things in Reed City? Nice to have you along with us. John Callison. John, I got your email today. Thank you for the new spots. I didn't get time to really look at it, didn't get time to respond. But I will tell you this, John. You are one of the most conscientious people I've ever worked with. You make it very easy, and you are much appreciated. Thank you so very much. Paul, good evening, buddy. How are you? Okay, Matt says he likes it. It's really handy because if you're watching on TV, you can see others' comments. So some of you can see these. Let me see. Can I make it bigger? Yeah, let me see. Oh, I can. Okay. I see what you're saying. They're there, but it's small. Let me go back here a little bit. It's small. So if it's too small to see it, is it something that I even want to put up there, or do I just get rid of it? Otto, the cold and snow could let up southeast bay of Grand Traverse, about 45% frozen. Joe, good evening. How are you? Hey, look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Wyndham, formerly Steve Wyndham of MUCC. Steve, really one of the good guys. Well, I got to change my screen ratio here. I just screwed it up, and it looks very small to me now. Everything does. I'll come back to you, Steve. I don't want to do that. Let's do this. Change the resolution. Did that help me, or did that hurt me? Oh, my goodness. That really hurt me. Stand by, my friends. I'm coming back. Okay, I'm stuck with what it is. Anyway, Steve Wyndham, formerly of MUCC, truly one of the good guys. Okay, I'm seeing your comments here now. Steve is no longer with MUCC. I miss him terribly. He's with a different group called Outdoor Mentors Pass It On. And this group is designed to get kids and young people involved in the outdoors. Dan says, can expand the screen with it and still read the feeds. Jason says, I think the comments will be hard to read on cell phones. Linda says, I can see it. Eric says, no, I can see it. Jason says, I can see it. It's just small on the phone. All right, let's experiment with it. Let's keep it up. Mike, good evening. Matthew says he loves it. So here we go. Steve can see it. Linda says, I can see it on Facebook. Kathy, good evening. Kathy, who we all know is Amy Trotter's mom. Can I talk just a second about MUCC? Because it's been on my mind a lot lately, and with convention coming up, and Steve, who's no longer with MUCC, got me to volunteer to MC the fundraiser meeting Saturday night. So I've been thinking a lot about MUCC. Also, because I had Mike Mitchell on the radio show today for air this weekend. Mike is the interim CEO at MUCC. I've been led to believe that the search for a full-time CEO is making progress, and it might not be too long. In fact, we might have a new CEO in place by the time of convention coming up the third weekend in February. It's no secret I was heartbroken when Amy left MUCC, and then Justin left, broke my heart. Tyler left, broke my heart. Steve left, broke my heart. These are all really good friends of mine, people I have much respect for, people I'd worked very closely with. However, I am very much committed to MUCC and their mission. So I will continue to support MUCC unless the bottom drops out. And I pray that doesn't happen. I don't see it. Some changes are in the works. They're going to expand their base of support. They're going to bring in non-hook and bullet groups. They're going to attempt to bring in like mountain bikers and campers and such, which I'm all in favor of because there is strength in numbers. And as long as MUCC does not abandon the group that got them to where they are, the hook and bullet people, you and I, it's all good. It's all good. So I'm going to continue to work with MUCC. They have my complete support. And as far as I know, we're going to do, well, let me put it this way. I'm going to do an outing, a golf outing, Friday, July 31st at the West Branch Country Club. And at this point, I don't see any reason why it won't be for MUCC. Roger says, okay, try something else. Jeff says, good evening, Mike. What day will you be at Outdoorama? I will be at Outdoorama for MUCC convention. So I guess Saturday's the day I'll be there. Yeah, Saturday. But I'll be tied up at the convention. Gary says, I can see the comments, but need to be in full screen mode to read them. Matthew says, perfect size. Cliff, yes, I like them. James, how are you? Chris says, it's cold in Kansas. I don't doubt it, Chris. It's cold everywhere right now, isn't it? Greg Plowman, what is this? This is my overpriced Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation Yeti. And I'm really dry tonight, so the Crystal Light tastes good. Mickey, how are you? David, Jackie, John. John says just doing your job. But you know what, John? Well, I'm not even going to say it. Renee says too small for me, but I'm not tech savvy. Joe, who watches on TV, says he can see the comments. Jason says it won't be good for people on cell phones, but it'll be good for YouTube. Mike, you're not old. Hang in there, buddy. Randy, how are you, my friend? Chris, going to go ice fishing on his pond. My son James was out on Saginaw Bay tonight with Mike Smith of Offshore Account. I don't know if they got fish. I can send him a quick text. Hang tight. You in, and did you get fish? Jerry, thanks. Do Mike, if you license pre coming. Do you know if license prices are increasing? Not for 2026. There's no doubt there's a license fee increase on the way for Michigan hunting and fishing licenses. Not for 26, obviously, maybe not even for 27, but they have to happen. What about a sandhill crane season? I'm no expert on this, but I don't see Michigan having a sandhill crane season anytime soon because there's just nobody's pushing for it. There's not the will there. And I think the Michigan DNR thinks they have bigger problems than dealing with a sandhill crane issue. The only way that's going to happen, in my opinion, is if somebody from the outside comes in, which is the same way, in my humble opinion, if we get back baiting in the Lower Peninsula for whitetails. I think there's a movement going on. I think there's starting to be a consensus that people are saying, baloney, we want baiting. To hell with CWD. We want baiting. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the legislature make that happen. Dean, good evening. How are you? Tracy, Mike, someone asked this morning about a bait license. Your thoughts? I think a bait license would be an abysmally bad decision. It will not come from the DNR. I'm telling you this again. It will not come from the DNR because the DNR is not about to push or support a bait license because they would lose absolutely all credibility over their fight against CWD. So a bait license will not come from the DNR. It might come from the legislature. I think a bait license is a bad idea. That is, if they charge you for the license. So if it's a license, I suspect they're going to charge you. I think we should be allowed to bait. If the department wants us to kill more deer, let us use all the tools. They gave us an extended rifle season as one tool. Open it up. Open it up. Let us use bait. Renee, I like MUCC. What they do, I will continue to be a member. I as well, Renee. The convention this year is going to be extremely interesting. I think the leadership is going to have to go before the membership and the constituents at the convention. I always say the convention, but the folks at MUCC just say convention. I always say the prom, but kids say prom, so I will probably continue to say the convention. MUCC leadership is going to have some splaining to do at the convention. Because there are some members, some key members are saying, where are we at? Why has there not been more communication? I suspect these issues will be addressed at the convention. Jim, good evening, buddy. How are you? Cold and snow, lots of snow and ice there. Patrick, how are you? All right, Roger, appreciate that. Larry Rabbit Homesteading, how are you? Mike says, really small on my iPad Pro. So I guess the question is this more frustrating or is it more helpful? Should I get rid of it or should I keep it? John, kind of interesting that MUCC is having their convention in Novi. Would they ever consider live streaming? At least part of us more could see it. First part of the comment, John, why is it interesting that MUCC is having their convention in Novi? They skip around every year from city to city. Live streaming, I don't think they would live stream it only because there is some pretty spirited debate and discussion that I personally don't see it would be a great idea to bring it to the public, especially when you consider, and I think I'm correct here, that anybody can go to MUCC convention and just stop in and watch it. You can't vote, but you can watch it. Chris going pheasant hunting. Nick, how are you? I love the name, Nick Detroit. Mike, the sound of taps was playing in my head when I was taking my deer stand fabric off for the season. I need to do that too, Mike. I've got a blind out on our lease property that it's up on a platform, but it's got a fabric blind over it. And if I don't get it, I'm sure this winter weather is going to destroy it. So I need to get out there and do it. But it's just been too cold. And I'm kind of a sissy lately when it comes to the cold. Scott Hand, good evening. How are you? Plenty going on in life lately. I hope it's all good. And I don't care what you got going on, Scott. No excuse for being gone for 2 months. You're right, Brian. Thanks for bringing it up. I wasn't going to bring it up yet, but you brought it up. I was snubbed on the Pure Michigan hunt, but beyond that, it's a travesty. It is an absolute mistake of magnificent proportions. I was supposed to win the Pure Michigan hunt. And I didn't. And of all the mistakes that the DNR ever makes in a year, this one mistake of not awarding me the Pure Michigan hunt as one of 3 winners is going to go down as one of the probably the most significant and biggest mistakes that the Michigan DNR has ever done. Now there is hope they can change this by awarding me the Pure Michigan hunt next year. So I'm not going to say I'm turning my back on them, and come March I will apply again. But I am heartbroken, I am disappointed, and I am just I'm in disbelief that I did not win the Pure Michigan hunt. And be honest with you, I'm mad about it. Rick, look forward to seeing you February 7th at the Brian's House fundraiser dinner. Here is that event right here. Let me get rid of the comment. This is next Saturday, the 7th. There is a fundraiser for Brian's House, and that is a hospice in Bay County. They're trying to reopen Brian's House, and I was approached a couple of months ago about would I be involved in this. And going back to my comment earlier when I said, you just can't say yes to everything. My original inclination was to say, no, I can't do this event. And something started working in the back of my brain, kept nagging at me. And then I realized when my dad was near the end of life on this earth, that he spent several days in a hospice over in Grand Rapids. And I remembered what a wonderful facility that is and how great the people are. And I called Jane Addams up and I said, I will be your MC. So that's what's going on. I have no other, I'm not involved in this in any way. I'm not helping to put it on. I am just the MC. But Rick, I look forward to seeing you there as well. Make sure you come up and say hi. Nick, not allowed, but they sell it at every single gas station. What a joke or a trap. Tony said 80% are baiting right now. And see, that's the thing, Tony. That's the thing. People are doing it. It's not being enforced. I don't believe you can stop it. So who does it hurt? It hurts somebody like me who is trying to do the right thing. I have no problem with baiting. I think we should be allowed to bait. However, I am in a position and I'm public enough that if I ever got a ticket for baiting, it could be a very serious blow to my career. So I can't take the chance. I won't do it. And it makes me mad. The sturgeon spearing on Black Lake is, I'll look right now, the Chivery. Well, Mike's on here tonight. The Sturgeon Shivaree is February 6th and 7th. So that's this weekend. Or no, next weekend. That is next weekend, Roger. Next weekend. Lori, good evening. How are you? Linda, Michelle Hoytiga, Michigan 36th District, has been rattling around baiting legislation. And as I said earlier, Linda, I think that is the only way that it's going to happen, but I really believe that it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. Andrew, I'm doing great. How are you? Yes, Matt, MUCC members are allowed to attend convention just to observe. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're not technically with MUCC anymore, but you would know the answer to this. I'm quite sure that MUCC members are allowed to attend the convention to watch the proceedings. You just can't vote because, I mean, you're not a voter. What's that, Lori? Oh, Brian says, get rid of it. Way too small. Not frustrating, helpful to others. Get rid of it. It's about 50-50. Mike, okay, it's kind of confusing to me why we lost everybody at MUCC. I'm not speaking out of school here because this has been talked about publicly. The board felt that MUCC needed to reorganize to become more fiscally solvent. My words, not theirs. And so they thought there was a change in direction was needed. And then the rest of the guys either left of their own accord or were asked to leave. But I think, Mike, and I'm confident that this question will indeed come up at the convention about why cleaning house, why the change. If nobody else asks, I'll ask it because that is something that needs to be addressed. Jerry says, keep it. Would like information on your golf outing. The golf outing is Friday, July 31st at the West Branch Country Club in beautiful West Branch, Michigan. Too early to sign up, but I will keep you informed as it gets closer. All right, I'm going to get rid of it. Gotcha. Tom, good evening. How are you? Been fishing? Tommy says turkey season not far away. All right, so I'm going back and forth. I like seeing the Facebook comments on YouTube. So, Joe, let me ask you this. Are you saying that unless I do this, you cannot see the comments on YouTube? Is that what you're saying? If for no other reason than that, that's enough to keep it up there. I also noticed this morning, here we go. I also noticed this morning when I was going live to Instagram that they showed up on Instagram as well. All right, I'm going to keep them up there. Oh, John, I got you. Yeah, I think you should go. I think it'd be very interesting. Andrew says, I started hunting when baiting was illegal, but on my wife's family farm, they have food plots. And you'll remember that baiting was legal in Michigan for many years. And it got out of hand. And people started dumping truckloads of sugar beets in the woods. Thank you, Mike. Sturgeon season is next Saturday. Friday, Saturday. And we'll have the tent there. Mike is with Sturgeon for tomorrow. And they're going to have ice this year. Steve, thank you. All active members are welcome and can speak, but only delegates can vote. Craig Plowman just sent me a text. He said he can see him on the big screen. I look pretty good on that big screen there, Craig. Scott Hand, $6 yesterday. But Craig, okay, I'm looking at your comments, or I'm looking at your YouTube picture you just sent me, and you can see the comments on YouTube. $6 yesterday in the food plot. All still had both sides of the rack. Is the sturgeon spearing season going to beat the 17-minute mark? I don't know. Rick says, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. Tommy says, I can see him on YouTube. Good evening, Lance Valentine. Sir Lancelot, how you doing, buddy? Tom says, I don't bait either. Worried if I got a ticket could ruin my trips to Canada and out west with the interstate. That's a very good point. It's a very good point. Would, very good point, Tom. Thank you for pointing this out. I'd never even thought of this. Would this piddly little baiting ticket in Michigan then make you considered to be a wildlife violator? And would it prohibit you from getting an out-of-state license and going into Canada? Very good point. Very good question. And I don't know the answer. Linda says the professor, Lance Valentine, will be at Outdoorama. Got to go sit in on one of his seminars. You should, because Lance is the man. Lance is the man when it comes to fishing. He's one of the men. Michael, good evening. How are you? I believe there should be restrictions on baiting, but it shouldn't be abolished altogether. Oh, Joe. Well, Joe says I can see YouTube comments on YouTube, but not Facebook unless you highlight them. Well, yes, unless I highlight them. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now, my friends. If I highlight them, you can see them. If I don't highlight them, you cannot necessarily see them. Gotcha. Mike says he saw a big 8-pointed Dow, still had a rack on both sides. That is a good question, isn't it? Andrew says, for baiting, I would like a scientific basis decision. But here's the thing, Andrew. If you talk to the powers that be in the DNR, because I have many times, they will give you what they believe is a sound scientific based decision for why they want baiting to continue to be banned. Ryan, hopefully frigid temps will knock down the tick explosion this year. Am I going to be at the Grand Rapids show? Probably. A good Ask Avery question. That is an excellent Ask Avery question. Thank you for that suggestion. Like, make a quick note here. Yes. Very good point. My son James is in from fishing. Lance has a great new seminar for Outdoorama, Beginner's Guide to the Detroit River. It could be intimidating. Good point. All right, let me talk about a couple of other things. Yeah, very good point, Lance. Where did that go? Oh, here we go. That'll be a great seminar. Okay, we cannot talk right now without talking about the weather. It is absolutely brutal. It's crazy. I am so sick of the winter, and it's too early to get sick of winter. And besides that, there's nothing you can do about it anyway, right? Ice conditions, snow conditions. I'm starting to feel like it's a good old-fashioned Michigan winter. I'm starting to feel like winters in the 70s when I was a kid growing up on the west side of the state over in the snow belt. The only saving grace, the only positive point is the days are indeed getting longer. You know, back during the firearm season, rifle season, 5:30, and it was dead dark, dead dog dark. You couldn't see anything. Now, 6 o'clock, it's still light out, so the days are getting longer. Pure Michigan hunt. Again, I'm disappointed, I'm heartbroken, and I'm mad. And I'm sure that there was a problem with the system. I was supposed to win. I was supposed to be one of the winners of the Pure Michigan hunt this year. And I'm not. And I'm not happy about it. I think the DNR has made a very, very big mistake. Hopefully next year they can correct it. Some upcoming events. Let me talk about these. I mentioned Brian's House, a fundraiser for a hospice in Bay County, Brian's House. It's coming up the 7th. I will be the MC of that event. There's a flyer for that. Do a search for Brian's House fundraiser and you can get tickets. Then coming up on the 21st, 22nd, somewhere in there, Outdoorama and MUCC's convention. I will be at the convention. Steve Wyndham talked me into emceeing the fundraiser banquet on Saturday night. He didn't have to talk real hard. I'm more than happy to do it. So I will be there for that. And then coming up on March 7th, this event right here, our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. That's at the Great Hall in Midland. It's our 9th dinner. We have some wonderful prizes, some wonderful giveaways, including an African safari. And I'm just going off the top of my head here. An African safari, an Illinois bow hunt, a Lake Michigan salmon fishing trip with Doug Ward, 2 Detroit River trips, one with Captain Mark Panonzik, one with Lance Valentine, a guided predator hunt with Matt Schock. I'm giving away a walleye fishing trip on Saginaw Bay. A lot of guns. I mean, it's a really, really fun event, and I'm excited about it. So if you want to get your tickets, go to one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor and get your tickets now. We're about 60% sold out, so we will sell out. Okay, continuing on the theme of what I got coming up. Okay, so I have the Trinity event on March 7th, March 8th, early in the morning. My wife Denise and I leave for Florida to meet my son and daughter-in-law, James and Jess. My grandson Addison plays for Kelvin University. She plays softball, and she'll be playing in their spring league. So we're going down to Florida to watch her play. I come back a day early because on the 14th, I'll be speaking to the Reese Adventure Club in Reese. And then here's the new event that was just added this morning. If interested, put this on your calendar. The next Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant, has now been scheduled for Wednesday, April 15th. Should be an easy one to remember because that's tax day. So tax day stinks, but we're going to have fun at the Lumberjack on April 15th. Put that on your calendar. Okay, let me go back and pick up some comments here. Good evening, sir. Is Rapid River Knives going to be there? Beware, Joe. Which event that I just talked about? I guess it really doesn't matter because Rapid River, Chris Durson won't be at any of those. But don't be surprised if I have Rapid River Knife to give away at 1 or 2 of those. Getting ready for the second weekend of Tip Up Town, Bob. Have fun. Have I been ice fishing yet, Linda? No. Because if I go ice fishing, it will be on Saginaw Bay, and Saginaw Bay is just getting locked up enough that that I would go out there. My son James was out there tonight. I don't know if I'm going to go or not. I got to be completely honest with you. It's not something that I feel excited about. I did it last year because I hadn't gone for several years and I wanted to be able to have the experience to talk about in the frame of reference. If it stays as cold and nasty as it is right now for a couple more weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't even go. Roger says, I think a 2-gallon limit, no permit needed. I can't argue with that, Roger. Bernie, we all know there are people who will break the laws and push the limit no matter what the rules are. Well, that's what I was thinking about, 2-gallon limit. If the DNR puts a 2-gallon limit on, let me ask you this. If they can't enforce the bait ban in general, how would they ever enforce a 2-gallon limit? I just think it is silly to have a law on the books that cannot be enforced, or the department has chosen not to enforce it. Because as Tony said earlier, if you've got, pick the number, whatever the number is, 50%, 75%, 80%, whatever the number is, even if it's 30%. But a significant percentage of Michigan hunters are indeed hunting over illegal bait. Why have a law that makes those people violators? It's over the concern of CWD, chronic wasting disease. Which is a bigger concern in our state right now? Is it chronic wasting disease, or is it a deer herd that is so large in southern Michigan that it's threatening the future of that deer herd? Or is it the loss of hunters? Because I think allowing hunters to use bait will address positively those last 2 factors. Bringing down the size of the deer herd, which the DNR desperately wants to do, and I think it'll keep some hunters in the sport a little bit longer. Because I'll tell you this, when I go out there to the lease property this year, and I hunt for days and days and days and don't get a shot at an animal, the only reason I continue to hunt is because I'm committed to the experience. I want to have a topic to talk about on the air, and I'm out there with my family. I wouldn't blame somebody if they hunt 4 or 5 days in a row and don't see an animal, if they just say to heck with it. Mike, I've seen homeless people walking by my work to stay warm. I pray they can find a place to go. I do as well. Jim says the grandkids had snow days 7 of the last 8 days in South Haven. We were over on the west side of the state this past weekend. My wife Denise and I, we went over to see my mom, to visit with my mom, and to visit with Addison over at Calvin University. And yeah, I was reminded what a good old-fashioned West Michigan winter looks like. I'm one of these guys who will always jump on the freeway. I would rather drive a freeway than anything else. But 131 North Sunday afternoon was so bad that I jumped off the freeway and said, I've had enough of this. I got to get off this thing, because it was like an ice skating rink, and there were too many vehicles. I thought, I got to get off it, and actually jumped off at M57 and took 57 across. So yeah. Patrick, tell me, if you're not making money on what you plant in a food plot, you're not feeding domestic animals. You're just planting bait. Basically no difference. I can't disagree. Roger, don't forget ice carvings. Frankenmuth, have fun for all. Yep. Kenny says, I'm really mad. Played Mega Millions. Should have won that, but I didn't. Steve, you want to come? Of course, Steve. I'm going to send you a text, Steve. Well, I'll do it later, Steve. But yeah, of course there's a spot for you. Absolutely. Jason, good evening, buddy. How are you? The Grand Rapids one. No. Rapid River will not be there. I'll talk about Rapid River in a minute. Oh, I got to get to it here. Renee, I had to choose Outdoor Rama or an outing with my fishing club on Saginaw Bay. I choose Saginaw Bay. Yep. Not stupid at all, but how about a trip to Rapid River? Okay, which leads me into, let me get into who's on the show this week. My first guest this week is Chris Durson of Rapid River. We talk about what's going on at Rapid River. Rapid River is growing so fast that they're experiencing some very severe growing pains. They ran out of product in October or maybe late September for Christmas. Chris Durson has grown that business so fast and so large that they're trying to navigate how to proceed into the future. I can tell you one thing, promo codes are going to look different. That Avery promo code, and here's why. Chris has been offering a promo code of 15% discount. That promo code in 2025 was used 290,000 times. Think of how much money that cost Chris. He's got to do something different with promo codes, and maybe the type of knives that he's going to build have to be tweaked a little bit. But Chris and I didn't get into that on the radio show. I'm telling you that as a viewer of Wednesday Night Live, and it's not off the record, but it's not something I would say publicly on the radio, but I'll say on a live stream. But it's a tremendous company. They're growing extremely fast. I'm proud to partner with them. And I will continue to partner with them. Then, at the end of the hour, Mike Mitchell, the interim director, CEO of MUCC, joins me. I asked Mike about convention, about the search for the CEO. He said they might well have a new CEO in place by the convention, and I think that would be wonderful because that person needs to speak to the group and say, here's where we are going. People need to hear that. Mike also said that this year's Saturday night banquet is not an awards banquet like it has been in past, like where I got this award right here last year. Not going to be that way this year. It's a fundraiser this year, and everybody is invited. All the vendors, everybody is invited to the MUCC fundraiser Saturday night. In our second hour this week, Captain John Littlefield joins me of Premier Maritime Training. John is the guy who helped me get my charter captain's license. This is my charter captain's license right here. I have a 25-ton master license. I don't have a six-pack. I have a 25-ton master with a towing endorsement. So we talk about John was teaching for a different company previously. He's gone out and started his own company called Premier Maritime Training. So we talk about that, the process of how to become a charter captain. And we also talk about, when I talked to John this morning, he was in the UP ice fishing. We talk about ice fishing in the UP. Next, in the second hour, is a guy named Curtis Cisco. Curtis is one of the three folks who won the Pure Michigan Hunt this year. I talked to Curtis about that experience, what it was like getting the news, how many times did he apply. I think he applied 4. I think he had in 4 this year, maybe 5. Not a bunch. He won. This week's Ask Avery question from Officer Dan Listenfelds. Well, the question is from Morley Burns. Morley says, is it true that you can't load your gun in a deer blind before legal shooting hours? Yep, technically it's true. And then in a third hour, Jimmy Gretzinger of Michigan Out of Doors is my guest. I always love my conversations with Jimmy. We talk about the show, how it got to be where it's at, the history of Michigan Out of Doors. And did you know this? Think about this. I started watching Michigan Outdoors when Mort Neff was the host. There was Mort Neff, Jerry Chiapetta, Fred Trost, and now Bob Garner was in there, and now Jimmy Gretzinger. Jimmy has actually been at the helm of Michigan Out of Doors longer than any of the previous hosts. Pretty cool. And of course, we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. So a trip to Rapid River. If we went to Rapid River right now, you wouldn't find any knives in the showroom. They're still replenishing their supply. They're working hard. Andrew, my first ice fishing outing is this Saturday. Excellent. Have fun. Totally forgot about the dinner. Joe will get his tickets today. The loss of hunters is the biggest threat. Something about even pulling a small bluegill is just cool. Not big on ice fishing. We'll do it once a year. Otto says the last 2 factors. Any TB numbers on DMU 452? Todd, probably, but I don't know what they are. Gary, the DNR does enforce the law in select areas. They will only do it if they get enough baiting tips that people are baiting. I know because of it in Gladwin County, where I hunt. They've been there for the 3 years, going from stand to stand to give out tickets. Okay, so it's a selective enforcement. But I'll go back to this. It is not something. Maybe I shouldn't say it's a law they can't enforce. It is a problem they can't control. They can't control baiting. Well, I see what you're saying, Paul. That's true. Baiting is cheaper than a food plot. Evening, Adam. How are you? Aditya. My son-in-law, Aditya. Is Bob watching right now, or is he in bed by now? Bob is my newest grandchild. He's 16 months old now. His real name is Bodie, but I call him Bob. How you doing, guys? It's cold down there. I know it is. Roger, I was checked by the DNR when fishing. I asked about checking hunters' baiting. Response was they will not check on hunters unless there is a complaint. All right, Steve, you're in. I'll make sure to save a place for you. Jerry, how are you? Mike, it's not always about shooting a deer. It's also about seeing him. Does bait help that? Absolutely, bait helps that. Good point, Linda. A worm maker's mark with a shot of honey is a good flu chaser. Joe, I'll pay for a raffle ticket. Steve, how are you, buddy? Nice to have you along with us. Was for private land. Coco, good evening. How are you? Don, he should open another store in mid-Michigan. He won't. Chris is not going to open another store, especially not in mid-Michigan. He has his hands full keeping the store in Rapid River stocked. But here's something. Mid-Michigan, Jay's Sporting Goods sells Rapid River knives. We could do a raffle. What do you mean, Joe? Gerald, good evening. How are you? Oh, a raffle for one of your benefits. A day with Mike going to Oh, I see what you're saying. I I appreciate that, Joe. That's one of those things I'm just going to have to say no. I'm just that's not going to work for me. And oh my gosh, it's 1:45, and I'm going to respectfully decline that one. And again, it's for it's not a bad idea, but it's not going to work for me. But if you have a recommendation about what you think I should do, what you'd like to see me do, yes, please. I want to hear from them. I want to hear about it. Wednesday Night Live is a recommendation from a listener. The Wednesday Night Lives in person is a recommendation from Bill Lincoln, who was on here earlier. So you have some great ideas. I appreciate them. I will consider them all. I might not be able to implement all of them, but I will certainly consider them all. My name is Mike Avery. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And, of course, my email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Stay warm, my friends.